Welcome to Small Business Saturdays video series with your host and my husband.
And my dad, Aaron Montgomery.
Join the conversation.
Let's talk some business.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome into Small Business Saturdays. My name is Aaron Montgomery, and you can find me over at oursuccessgroup.com. Hopefully everybody is having a great start to your Saturday morning, and we're going to get into talking about masterminding your way to success here today. And this is a process that I'm a big, huge fan of, process that I truly believe in, and actually one of my big, huge BHAGs, right? The big, hairy, audacious goals is that I would like to work with over 1,000 people through mastermind programs by, I think it's I don't have it in front of me here, but I should, because I got to get it posted back up there. December 31st, 2025, I do believe, is when that goal is set for. So I'm really excited to be talking more about it because, like I said, I really believe in this process here. Before we get started, though, I do want to say good morning, checking in. Good morning, Chuck. Thanks for being here. And Christy, good morning to you. And Edward, so glad that you could join us here this morning. And Chuck is saying good morning to everybody else as well. Cool. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for being here. We are into our 8th week, 8th step of the fundamentals of business success, and 8 out of 13. And so let me talk to you real quick about what we started with. So everything started with the empower yourself with that 100% responsibility, with giving up blaming, complaining, and excuse making, and really just kind of owning our own lives. And at first that seems really scary. Like, gosh, I'm responsible for everything. Yes, but here's the great part: is once you get over that kind of overwhelm of it, you actually realize that not only are you responsible for everything, but now you've taken all of your power back. Nobody has power over you anymore. You get to make your own decisions. You get to decide what responses you're going to make to every event, and be able to create the outcomes that you want. So it's that E plus R equals formula: the event, your response, plus the equals the outcome. Sorry, not plus. The event plus your response equals the outcome. And with that in mind, that's where we started. Then we wanted to make sure that we had a real clear understanding of our purpose, finding our purpose. We want to live in our significance. What's our greatness zone? What is it that we can lose all track of time doing? And how do we make sure that that's what we're shooting for as success, right? So understanding that, next we needed to decide what we desire, right? And getting over the fact that when we feel like we want, we're being greedy or any of that stuff. None of that is true. All the wants are in our lives are just the signals that we're living in our purpose. The things we want are part of what our purpose is. And even the stuff, right? That's all just part of the big package, part of the big picture. So we really needed to get clear on what it is that we want or desire. And then fourth, we needed to reignite self-trust. We needed to make sure that we believe that we're capable, we believe in ourselves, and get through all that. So we have to, because before we can, most people will say, oh, well, I'll believe it when I see it. But the reality is, the way things works is you only see it once you actually believe it. And so we have to believe in ourselves. That was 4. Number 5 was we needed to be a goal getter. So how do we set very specific goals, and how do we work towards those, and what's the process to achieve those goals? Basically, we're turning on the law of attraction when it comes to that. So with that was let's see, where was I at here? That was number 5. Sorry, excuse me. And then number 6 was we needed to take productive actions. Basically understanding that we need to figure out that we don't necessarily have a time management problem, but we actually have a priority management problem. And so how do we spend most of our time moving towards what we want and not doing what other people want? The whole idea that I'm a recovering people pleaser, right? So some of that. And then last week at DAX, we talked about be willing to do the work. We're going to practice. We're going to repeat. We're going to build momentum. We're going to do the slight edge stuff. We're going to, make sure that we're working towards, we're being persistent and growing each and every day. So that's number 7, be willing to do the work. And that leads us to today, where we're going to mastermind our way to success. So that's what we're here to talk about today. I'm excited about that. Jerry, good morning. Thanks for being here. And all right. So, this idea of masterminding, we're going to get really specific about what it is. Um, but the the reality here is that masterminding is actually an extremely old idea. um, and it goes through ebbs and flows, but it seems to be gaining more traction again, at least in my world, right? Because I talk about it. That's what I'm interested in achieving and stuff like that. But this is a really old idea. It's just very misunderstood, is I think a big challenge that people have when it comes to masterminds. So really, this tool is kind of first documented as being used by people like Henry Ford and Thomas Edison and Andrew Carnegie. And this all came out in a book by a gentleman named Napoleon Hill. And that book was called Think and Grow Rich. And I wanted to share, this is not that book, this is Success Principles book, but it's got a quote from Napoleon Hill in it that really talks about the mastermind here. So I wanted to read that to you guys here. And so here it is. When two or more people coordinate in a spirit of harmony and work towards a definitive objective or purpose, they place themselves in position through that alliance to absorb power directly from the great storehouse of infinite intelligence. And so it's two or more people coordinating in a harmonized effort to achieve more than what it is the way I read that. So that's what a mastermind is, right? And if we think about the mastermind in that way, that goes back even further than people like Henry Ford and Thomas Edison and Andrew Carnegie. It's why leaders over the course of time have always had a trusted group of people around them, the right hand man or the group that are there protecting them, but also their confidants and helping them make decisions and things like that. You can actually even find references to mastermind groups. They didn't call them mastermind groups at the time, but you can find references to these types of group all the way back into stories that come out of the Bible, right? Concepts like Freemasonry are a form of mastermind. So mastermind really is just two or more people getting together to be greater than the sum of their parts. And masterminding, just like all things in business, and really in life, but we're focused on Small Business Saturdays here. So all things in business, it's about creating a process, and this process has to have a very specific goal of coming together to share ideas, thoughts, resources, feedback, contacts, and accountability. So it's got to include all those things: ideas, thoughts, resources, feedback, contacts, and accountability. And a mastermind is going to bring new perspective to any challenges that you're facing, as long as that group is an effective group, right? And we'll talk a little bit about that in a bit. But this group will bring those new perspectives to any challenges you're facing, as long as it's an effective group. And this group needs to become a very safe space for everybody to tell the truth, and that everyone agrees that a rising tide lifts all boats, that kind of concept, right? Where we're all there to support and share with each other. So that's kind of what a mastermind is. And for those of you that aren't familiar, we run mastermind groups here at our success group, but this today here is not about pitching you to come join ours. Hopefully you find value in that, and let me take over the hard work of coordinating and running those mastermind groups. So if you do want to check it out, you can go check out Masters of Success is what we call it. And so if you'll go over to oursuccessgroup.com/MOS, which stands for Masters of Success, and you can check out more details about our groups. But really, again, not here to pitch you on that. I would love to have you join us. We are looking for more people, and we'll be adding some new people to the group here in the next, I think next month. I can't remember the exact dates, but that doesn't matter. But really today, and so I'm going to take this off the screen here again, one more time, oursuccessgroup.com/MOS, if you want to check that out. But today, really, I want to tell you what a mastermind group is not. And then I also want to share with you what a mastermind group should be. And I'm even going to give you the whole formula here. So even if it's not with Masters of Success, I want you to be involved in a mastermind group some way, shape, or form. And I'll talk a little bit about mine here in a little bit too. So with that being said, let me just start off here. Let me tell you what a mastermind group is not. right? And this is really important because, like I said, I'm seeing mastermind groups out there, people lauding these tribes or, join our mastermind group and we're the only blah, blah, blah. I don't want to get into naming names, but they're out there in our industry right now. And I love that people are trying to help other people, but I think they're missing some things, right? So I would have thought the same thing before I got involved with success principles. And a big part of the success principles is we had to learn how to do this. In fact, I've been so involved with mastermind groups that I've been asked by Jack Canfield and his team to help lead one of the mastermind groups that he runs. He's got a group called Momentum Mastermind, and it's kind of a bigger program and they do some other things, but they also have bi-weekly mastermind calls where they break up into the groups and they need leaders for these groups. And I'm actually one of those leaders. In fact, the last time they had that mastermind call, I actually was in the same room with Jack Canfield, which at first was a little bit scary, but then I realized, hey, you know what? I've worked really hard to understand what this is and how this works. And the way we run our mastermind groups at our success group are exactly the way that Jack runs his. So, almost exactly, little nuances, but anyhow, so I understand that masterminding has gotten this kind of, people are excited about it, right? It's a great way to market their things that they're trying to do. But I've found that many of them are not mastermind groups. So let me just share a few things that it's not. And if it feels like this at all to you, then it's not a mastermind group, right? It's kind of becomes a social hour where it's either, people just kind of randomly sharing and coming together and exchanging, and that's great, right? Nothing wrong with that, but that's not a mastermind group, right? And a lot of times those social hours devolve into the person who's running them just talking the whole time and I'm great and all this other stuff, right? Perfect. Again, no problem with that at all, but that's a social hour, right? That's just a gathering to get together and commiserate a lot of times is what I've found. Okay, so that's not a mastermind. Lots of people in it. A mastermind group needs to be actually very tight and concise and small, especially for the masterminding portion. And so when there's lots of people, it will take way too much time for everybody to really share and be able to get the feedback that they need. So that's not a mastermind group. If there's, tons of people in the tribe or whatever it is that's being called. If there's kind of lectures and presentations that are kind of part of it, that are the main part of it, right? If that's what it is about just learning something, then that's not necessarily a mastermind group. Now, to help and learn and teach something, that's totally fine. But if that's the main part of it, that's not a mastermind group. And then when I talked about sharing, the other thing that makes a mastermind group not actually a mastermind group is when you have a group of people and really just a few people are selected, right? I've heard things like the hot seat or whatever. So that's not a mastermind group either. And that's great for those people that get selected. But at the same time, that's really not allowing everybody to be part of what comes out of a mastermind group. And then last but not least here, and I think this one's really important to me, and this was the thing that I learned early on, because part of a mastermind group is accountability. And a lot of times when we start thinking about accountability, we're making commitments and we're being accountable, but we don't always live up to what we committed to. We're not always exactly accountable. And so at first, you're kind of like, gosh, I feel bad, oh, I'm just not going to show up because I didn't do that thing, right? Well, a mastermind group is not a place to what I call shoulding on yourselves, right? We should never worry about what we should have done. All that is feedback, so what could you have done differently? That's fine. But what you should have done, you did exactly what you should have done in that moment with the skills, resources, and energy you had in that moment, right? Every single day we all do exactly what we are supposed to be doing in that moment, and that's all we had at that point, right? And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with us. So you should never feel like you're getting should on, or people talking down to you or anything like that. So those, let me just real quick review what they're not. It's not a social hour. It doesn't have a whole bunch of people, 50, 25, whatever a lot of people is. It's not mainly about the lecturing or kind of being taught something. It's not where only a few people share. A mastermind group, everybody should be able to share, and also everybody should be able to provide feedback. And it's definitely not a place where you should on yourself or ever be talked down to. So those are things that masterminding is not. And if you guys have any questions about that, please go ahead and put those in the comments or share your thoughts. And while you guys are doing that, I would like to also then share with you what I believe and what I know to be true from my experiences and from what other people, including Jack Canfield, have told me about what a mastermind is. A mastermind, firstly, needs to be a structured meeting with a very clear agenda. Right? It's a structured meeting with a very clear agenda. In fact, it should be very repeatable. It shouldn't be changing all the time. It should be very repeatable. Yes, you can tweak and update and, work with the needs of the group and all that other stuff, but it should have a very clear agenda. Secondly, a mastermind group should be a very small group. As Napoleon Hill talked about, it's 2 or more people. Now, I would recommend looking or trying to be part of a group that's 4 to 6 people. Right? Because when you have 4 to 6 people, when you get above 2, now you've added a greater amount of perspective to that group, right? And so you've got enough people there that you've got different perspective, different ways of thinking, and that all can work off each other, right? And you can take multiple ideas from the 3. So if there's 4 people in your group, the 3 other people in your group, you can take their multiple ideas, pick out parts and pieces that are going to work for you, and that becomes the solution to your challenge, right? And so 4 to 6 people, once you're over 6, then the ability to share with enough detail becomes really difficult because then that meeting gets extremely long, right? So 4 to 6 people is ideal. And then the next thing is it's everybody in the group participates equally. Everybody commits to showing up and playing full out and providing feedback. Even when you don't feel like maybe you have I don't really know a whole lot about that. All right, well, what's your idea though? What's that gut instinct telling you about it? And just be clear about that. Say, hey, I don't really know a whole lot about this particular subject, but here's what my gut tells me if I was faced with that. And then that person who's needing the feedback can take that feedback and use it as is, right? They could pull something out of it that might not have even been thought about before. A lot of times the problems that get solved in the world are not by the people that know the most about it. In fact, a lot of times some of the biggest challenges in the world, there's a story about a gentleman who solved what was considered by the math community the unsolvable equation, because he showed up late to a class, saw the equation written on a board, and thought that was the homework assignment. And so he didn't have those preconceived notions or conceptions that it was an unsolvable math equation. He set out to solve it, and he did. Right? So, that's kind of a fun story, but it's true. And so, when you share your feedback with others, even if, again, you don't know a whole lot about it, it could be very valuable to them. So that's the third thing. Everybody in the group participates equally on both sides, both sharing feedback and sharing their challenges. And the next thing that makes a mastermind group a true mastermind group is that it is uplifting. It's kind of an uplifting. I almost call it like an incubation pod of ideas, right? It's no ideas are bad ideas. They're all just ideas, right? Some will work, some won't, but you have to be open to all of them. And it has to be that incubation. And you have to have that openness to say, you know what? Let me listen to this idea, right? It might not actually work for me. But if you automatically go into somebody's feedback going, nope, that's not going to work, right? Then you've lost some power there that you could be gaining by just being open and taking it all in first. The next thing that makes a mastermind group a true mastermind group is that it's a confidential, open forum of exchange, right? So it's within the group, everybody can be truthful and honest and share everything without fear that it's going to go beyond that group, right? And so there is that commitment, right? And then last but not least, in fact, probably most importantly, is this group has to be something where you feel accountable to it. You have that desire to hold yourself to your commitments as best as you can. as we talked about before, it's not a place to should on ourselves, but we should really have a strong desire to want to get those things done because you told this group of people that you trust, I'm going to work on this, right? And then you know that when you fulfill that commitment, they're going to celebrate you with you. You know that when you struggle and you run into some roadblocks and you can't fill that commitment, they're going to support you and say, okay, well, how can we help get you there, right? And that's what a mastermind is all about. So um, those are the things that it is. And again, I'd love to hear any of your comments, thoughts, feedback, what you're thinking. Um, but here's the great part. Here's the part why I'm so passionate about mastermind groups and what they're all about and what it really means to me is that when a mastermind group works as it should, and again, maybe I shouldn't use the word should, when a mastermind group works as is possible, as it can. Okay, let's do that. As when a mastermind group works as it can, this is going to boost you to success so much faster than almost anything you can do out there in the world. And I've learned this firsthand, right? So what ends up happening once you're involved in this and you look forward to this and you're open to it and it's part of who you are, and these people become part of your one of our mastermind group members previously called Masters of Success the business advisory board, right? And so that's really kind of what it feels like. And then once you have that, the hows, right? How am I going to do this? How am I going to get from point A to point B? They start showing up faster, right? And then the actions that you take to get you there will start compounding faster because you're actually doing more because now you're accountable, you're committed, and you're also getting greater feedback that you can trust from other folks, right? That you trust. So I think it's interesting because if you look really closely at the OSG community as a whole, you could kind of see the breakdown of where people are at and how ready they are for success kind of by the levels of what OSG is all about. So let me tell you about that in just 1 second. Let me just check here. Edward has a comment that I just wanted to share real quick. He says, our local MOB groups tend to only allow one industry per member. So each member has to be in a different business, like one worker, one jewelry crafter, one. Yep. And Edward, I understand that. Right. And I think what ends up happening in those types of groups, and I'm not saying that that's not the way it should work. Again, then you get outside perspectives and I like that idea. I think that's more geared though towards making sure that people are referring leads to each other. And this is not a BNI type group. This is not what I'm talking about here. This is not to bring leads to each other and help each other sell. Now, that doesn't mean that doesn't happen from time to time, but that's not what the real driving force of a mastermind group is. So I'm not saying that's what you're saying, Edward, but I just wanted to share that with folks where, yes, getting those different unique perspectives, I think is a great idea. But I also think when you bring a group of people together that are in the same industry, then it allows you to kind of have a deeper understanding of what they're going through on a daily basis, right? So it's when you have that common goal, I think that's really interesting. So yeah, Edward says exactly. I love it. I love it. Thank you, Edward, for sharing that. All right, well, let me go back to what I was talking about here real quickly when we kind of talk about that, right? Where you can kind of see it really kind of shows itself in the microcosm that is our success group community as a whole, right? And again, this is not everyone specifically, so there are outliers in all of this, and I'm not making this like statement about specific people. This is a general statement about how it really kind of looks as an overall whole. You know, you've got those folks that show up and they'll be on the weekly lives and they're there for the free stuff. They're involved in the free business success Facebook group, and great. That's awesome, right? They're moving forward. That's where they're at. But you're also noticing that a lot of those people might be moving forward a bit slowly compared to other people out there that are moving forward a little quicker, and they tend to be a little bit more overwhelmed, maybe a little bit more stuck, right? Because they're missing some key pieces. And so that's the kind of the first group. And then you get into the next group, which are the people that are part of the OSG squad, the members of our success group. And you're seeing that they are moving a little bit more quickly because they're taking a little bit more action. But you'll also notice that they tend to come and go a little bit more, right? They'll be really active for a little bit and then they won't be. And that's okay, right? They're exactly what they're doing, they're exactly where they're supposed to be, and they just aren't quite ready for that next level because they're not fully committed, right? They don't have that accountability that they need yet. But then you look at the Masters of Success group, the people that are most active in the community, the people that are doers and that are getting after it. And again, this is not to say one group is better than the other. It's just where they're at in their journey. And that's all we're talking about here is where they're at in their journey is they're ready to take action, right? Their confidence is there. They know that they have a great deal of support behind them, and they're accountable to take actions towards their success. And so that is the true power of a mastermind group. It's that it pushes you into that next level. It really boosts things and almost is like a turbocharger towards taking those actions, right? Because there's more to it. You have more confidence because you know you've got that support system in place. You have more confidence because you're supported in taking more action. You have more confidence because you're accountable and you're actually achieving some of those successes. And so as you start achieving things, right, you become more confident. The only way we build self-confidence is by surviving a risk, by taking an action and it working out, or you at least learning from it, right? So the this is where I feel like the power of the mastermind really shows itself. Again, not saying any people anywhere along that journey are any different or any better or any worse. All I'm saying is that they're at a place where they're ready to really boost things forward, and so they're using that power of a mastermind to get them further faster, right? All right. So with that being said, let me share this part with you guys. And I want to just I'm going to lay it out there, right? People would probably go, "What the heck are you doing, Aaron? This is what you're doing with Masters of Success, and you're gonna lay it out there and just let people run with it." Absolutely, right? Because I know it's hard work, and maybe you're ready to do that work, and that's totally cool. I want you to have all the resources that you need to be able to do the things that you need to do to be successful. So let me talk about what a meeting really looks like here and what the mastermind group really truly looks like and how it operates. So most importantly, it's all about making sure people are committed. And so when people sign up for Masters of Success, we have a very clear set of agreements and rules that people have to commit to. They're showing up on time. They're making every effort they can to show up to every meeting, right? It's not that everybody gets to everyone. Things happen, and it's not about shooting on people. It's about saying, hey, are you ready to really commit? Are you really committed to this, right? And then we have that very clear commitment structure. And again, we're just there to help hold each other accountable in the positive way, not in the, gosh, you're not holding to your commitments, you should do this. It's like, gosh, something must be happening. We need to support that person more because they're having a hard time holding to their commitments, right? That's the way that a mastermind works. So that's the first and most important thing. It's all about making sure there's a very clear commitment up front. Next, I would suggest that meetings are 60 to 90 minutes long and limited to that, depending on the size and whatnot of your group. And some people will say, okay, maybe the mastermind is a weekly thing. Maybe it's a bi-weekly thing. Maybe it's a monthly thing. You do want to make it a regular thing. I personally really like the bi-weekly structure because to me, weekly becomes a little bit too much, right? You're spending a little bit too much time in your mastermind group, not enough time actually taking the actions that need to be taken. And so that way you give yourself 2 weeks to really work on it. And then monthly becomes a little bit too long. You're missing that, right? You need that like kind of mid-month check-in you start losing a little bit of momentum. And so the bi-weekly to me is the perfect time to have a mastermind meeting. All right. So 60 to 90 minutes. I suggest bi-weekly. Monthly, weekly are also totally fine. Just make sure it's regular. We talked about this a little bit already, but you want to have a very clear agenda, right? That you hold to as closely as possible. Yes, we need to be flexible. Yes, we need to work with certain situations that might come up. Maybe somebody's in need of something a little bit more, whatnot, but you need to have a very clear agenda. Then all meetings need to open with some sort of an inspiration, having that openness, kind of getting people in the right mindset, depending on the group and what it's all about. Sometimes people have an invocation, maybe it's a spiritual thing. Maybe it's a religious thing, so sometimes people read a prayer. I know one thing that Jack Canfield does with a lot of his mastermind groups is he does have a kind of a meditation. And that's really kind of cool place to start, but that'll take a little bit more time. And so then that meeting becomes a little bit longer. So whatever it is to kind of get into that openness, that inspiration, what we do with Masters of Success is each of the group members, it kind of just everybody kind of volunteers and they'll send in a video that's inspirational. It's a 3 to 5 minute video that typically that they find on YouTube or somewhere like that they'll send in, and then we'll play that. And then as soon as it's over, we'll just kind of say, hey, what everybody take from that, right? And so that gets us in the right headspace. And so you've got that. And then after you get into that openness, then you're going to review what your previous commitments were. Actually, that's the third thing. The second thing that you need to kind of just check in and see where everybody's at. Again, this helps us understand where people need a little more support or, where people are doing great, right? So we just rate ourselves on a scale of 1 to 10. And then if it's not a 10, what could we do? Again, not shooting on ourselves. What could we do to make it a 10 next time we're faced with a similar situation, right? So that's the second thing is checking in, kind of understanding where everybody's in the groups at, so we know how to support each other and hold each other up and all that kind of fun stuff. And then we get into reviewing those prior commitments. And again, just talking about where we're at, even if you didn't make the commitment, okay, well, what happened? What can we do to support you more? How can we help? Well, what did you learn from it? Maybe you overcommitted, and that's okay, right? These are all learning. Everybody did exactly what they were supposed to do with the knowledge, skills, and ability they had in that moment. And when you look at that backwards and go, gosh, maybe I overcommitted. That's not like, oh gosh, I'm terrible. I'm such a terrible person. I overcommitted. That's, I overcommitted. I learned something. Next time, I'm going to try to not overcommit and focus more on really the most important things. Hey, learn, move forward. Next time, you're even better. And that's how we grow. All right. And then you get into the masterminding where it's really just sharing the person that is, it's their turn. They have the floor without anybody interrupting for as long as they need. And then it's opened up to the rest of the group to share. And again, the whole idea is for everybody in the group to share something, even if it's not something they know about, just kind of what their gut would be telling them in that scenario. And then after that's done, you make new commitments. So between this call and the next call, what are you going to be working on that's going to improve you or your business? And then we always close it up with some gratitude. And that gratitude can be towards the group. It can be towards something good going on in your life. And it really just grounding it in that gratitude allows you to go, gosh, this is why I'm working so hard, right? I'm so grateful for this. And that's why I work so hard. That's why I'm committing to doing more, to being successful, right? And so you get into that gratitude space and it lifts you up. You kind of float out of there is the way I feel about it, right? So at the end of the day, it's hard work, right? This is very specific, and coordinating a group takes some effort, right? And that's okay. I've actually been in several mastermind groups myself, for my own self personally, and several of those didn't work out, even with success principles trainers, right? We didn't have that clear commitment. It wasn't, the timing wasn't good, then people would show up and not be really committed to the time. And and that's okay, right? That was just what they were able to do in that time and space. But then it was okay for me to say, hey guys, I really appreciate you. If there's anything I can do to support you, please let me know. Here's how you guys know how to reach out to me, but this group just isn't for me. I need something a little bit different, because it is a big commitment. And you're making a big commitment to several other people. And so we should hold that really near and dear to our heart. But making that big commitment is also an exchange for them making a big commitment to you. And that's what it's all about. It's making that investment of yourself in others, because ultimately that return on investment is huge. But what I found is when I just make that commitment to others and I show up and not worry about what's in it for me, the what's in it for me multiplies by even more. It's incredible. But when I'm worried about what other people are going to do for me, then I get very little. But when I just show up and I'm committed to those other people, it almost miraculous, it feels like, right? And maybe it's because I'm just, it's still a couple of years into being open and learning about all this, so it feels miraculous right now, and maybe it'll feel more normal the more I do it. But right now, it just feels miraculous, So if any of you guys had tuned into the Two Regular Guys podcast yesterday, you actually got to meet one of my personal mastermind members, Brian Davis, and he's part of our mastermind group that also includes uh, Deb Lynn and Lorraine Thompson and Addie, and I can never pronounce Addie's name right. So Addie, I apologize right now. I don't even have it in front of me, so I'm not even going to try it. But these people are incredible people that have committed to me, and I've committed to them, and I want to show up for them every single way that I can. In fact, this group of 5 people outside of my family, that group is probably one of the most important groups in my life. In fact, I'm going to remove the word probably. I'm going to say that group is one of the most important groups in my life, right? And they're right there up there at the level of people that are super important and valuable to me, like Todd Downing, like these friends that are there for me that I work with and do lots of things with, Eric Campbell, Terry Combs, right? So this is the type of thing that we're talking about with a mastermind group. This becomes this advisory group, this group of people that you surround yourself with, that you realize that success is a team sport. So that's what I've got for you guys today for mastermind groups. I appreciate everybody showing up. I see Jerry showed up. Good morning, Jerry. Thanks for being here. And Jerry says, I'm great at sharing stuff I don't know about. Absolutely. You know what? Maybe sometimes I am too. I love to share, and I'm going to give my perspective, but that's all it is, right? It's my perspective, and I want you to take that and use that for whatever it is worth to you. And I know, Jerry, you're like that in a lot of ways, where you're just there to help people. So I love that. I love that idea, and I love that concept. Okay, you guys. Well, that's what I've got for you today. Hopefully it was very valuable for you. It was all about masterminding today. So if you missed part of it, you could go back and watch the replay on that and kind of see. I talked about what it shouldn't be. I talked about what it should be. And then I even gave you the full-on structure of how a mastermind should be run. And hopefully that gives you all the resources that you need to be moving into that phase of your world, right? So Edward says, I want to join a mastermind group, but with my insomnia and memory issues, it's hard, right? Well, Edward, I'm going to just share this, and I love you, and you know that I care fully and deeply about your success and what's going on with you. I would say I want to join a mastermind group. Period. Leave it there, right? I get that there's insomnia. I get that there's memory issues and whatnot. Okay. Why do those have to stop you, right? You're already doing some amazing things. As I watch you continue to take action, it's so incredible to see that happening. And when you're taking that action, you're forgetting about the but, right? Get rid of that but part. Just say, I want to join a mastermind group, period. Will you join it tomorrow? Maybe not. You've got to figure out how to overcome those challenges, right? Will you join it in a year? Who knows, right? But if you just state it out there as the positive, I want to, or I will join, or I am joining, right? And so those are the phases. I want to, I will, I am joining a mastermind group, right? And then just leave it at that. I forget meetings, videos, oversleep. Yeah, all those things, right? Those are all excuses why not to, but how about some excuses why you could, right? Okay, well, with the mastermind group, do you get accountability? Can somebody call you? Can you have an appointment, right? Yeah. Again, I'm not picking on you at all, Edward. I believe you know this by now, that's not the case, but I'm just showing people, right, that we can choose differently. I'm not saying that we have to, right? Doing exactly what you should be doing with your current resources, knowledge, skills, abilities. Keep doing that, right? But let's start telling ourselves in our brain that, okay, we're just making those choices right now, and that's okay to make those choices right now. How can I change that a little bit, right? How can I, what do I need to do to kind of get over some of that stuff? right? And I'm not saying that you can just go up, I choose to get over that. No, you're going to have to do the hard work. But I know Edward, he's willing to do the hard work. He's doing the hard work. He works his tail off. So, I'm not worried about Edward doing the hard work. I'm just telling Edward to give himself the grace and the space to say, I'm allowed to choose differently than what the challenges are, than choosing what the challenges are. So I love that, Edward. Thank you so much for sharing. I appreciate that. And you're going to continue to do great things. And I'm super proud of you, man. So high five on that one. How about that? There, boom, high five. All right, you guys. Well, that's what I got for you. Let me know if you guys have anything else. Next week, we're going to be talking about conquering fear and thriving, right? Conquering fear and living to tell about it. Maybe something along those lines. Edward here says, no, I understand I'm a pro at excuses and negative self-views that I'm struggling to get past, but I will. You absolutely will, Edward. I know you will. I can already see it happening. So I love it, and I'm proud of you, and I appreciate you being here, and thank you, Jerry, for being here as well. So thank you guys so much. Again, next week we'll be talking about conquering our fears and some techniques to get over that. I have this thing I call the art of success, which I love the concept of a flywheel, right? I picked this up from a gentleman named Pete Loveless, and I've run with that in a lot of things that I like to do on my own with this whole flywheel concept. And so we're gonna do that. Thank you, Chuck. You have a good weekend as well. And I will talk to everybody next week, and I'm excited to share with you my thoughts about conquering our fears. All right, everybody, have an awesome rest of your Saturday, and I will talk to you again soon.